Hey, what's up everybody? It's the Crypto Ginger here. Now before we get started, I wanted to quickly apologize for not having posted anything recently. Unfortunately, I've just been really busy and it did keep me from posting anything like I wanted to, but I stay busy on Twitter, so if you are ever wanting to see anything that I'm still looking into when it comes to cryptocurrencies, Ripple, XRP, or connections being made with Ripple, most certainly follow me on Twitter just as well. Now, I have been looking into this topic here of proof of keys. I wanted to quickly go over this because I think that there's some very interesting things underlining here that we should all be paying attention to, because across the board when it comes to cryptocurrencies and when it comes to fiat, there's a level of concern that we should all be aware of here. And I wanted to get into that and kind of merge the two worlds here so you can understand a little bit firmly, but I'll get into that here in just a second. So first off, there's this topic here of proof of keys. I've talked about this in a previous video, but I didn't get too in-depthly about it. Now, if you are unfamiliar with proof of keys or you want to be caught up to this right here, we'll use this article from CCN. You can see that the topic says proof of keys, several exchanges said to be failing Bitcoin ownership event. So of course, as you can see from the title, it is an event, and it's something that was actually put on by Trace Mayer, who was doing a proof of keys movement. The idea behind this was to have everybody more or less in unison go onto their exchanges and remove their cryptocurrencies on January 3rd, I believe. And of course, this would see if these exchanges actually held that amount of cryptocurrencies on hand as a 1-to-1 ratio. And if that were not the case, then that means that those exchanges would be at least falsifying their information when it comes to the records, because they did not in fact have that amount of cryptocurrencies on hand to disperse back to all of their customers. So I do think that this right here is a level of importance to keep in mind, because it does show and indicate that there is a potential risk of keeping your cryptocurrencies, or what you think are your cryptocurrencies, on an exchange rather than moving them directly to something like a Ledger Nano wallet where you have your private key and it is no longer on any exchange. Really, that would be your only verifiable way of knowing that you actually have your cryptocurrency private keys. So again, with this information in mind, January 3rd was to actually be the time frame of when this participation in this movement was to take place. And of course, the article goes a little bit further to talk about some of the exchanges that were possibly impacted by this here. I know a lot of it was signaling that these exchanges were going down for updates, but I find it very interesting and convenient that they were going down around the time frame that other exchanges were experiencing problems with releasing cryptocurrencies to their customers. Here we see that Coinbase Pro had service issues that they were dealing with, and of course they alerted to the public on Twitter that their services had been restored. You can also see Bitfinex was another exchange that had some issues and updates that they were supposedly dealing with as well. And the list goes on here. You can see that it's been heavily talked about. Quite a bit of cryptocurrency exchanges, companies that were dealing with cryptocurrencies as well, they were all affected by this proof of keys movement that sounds to have started earlier than it was actually anticipated. Now, the article does play a little bit of a devil's advocate to this particular movement here, again, by Trace Mayer. As you can see, it says here that there's an issue of the English-centric nature of Trace Mayer and his following as well. A huge amount of Bitcoin is traded in Chinese exchanges or in global exchanges like Binance. These people are less likely to subscribe to Trace Mayer. Being dedicated traders, they may not even see the actual value in symbolically proving their coin ownership. One thing is for sure, several exchanges are provably falsifying their trading volume for advertising purposes. CCN recently reported on one particular egregious example in the case of BitThumb. And of course, the article goes further to talk about some of the additional examples that were reported in the past when it comes to falsifying trading volume. So again, there should be a level of concern that is understood when it comes to leaving your cryptocurrencies on these exchanges here, again, and understanding that there are exchanges out there that might not have a 1-to-1 ratio of cryptocurrencies that they're holding when it comes to what their customers are applying or putting into that might be something that we should all take into consideration. Now, knowing this right here, it leads me into another article that I found very interesting. I wanted to kind of go over that just as well. So here we have an article from BitcoinExchangeGuide.com talking about Kaitlin Long warns the crypto community about Bermuda's new crypto regulations. Now, of course, Kaitlin Long is a Wall Street veteran and a former president of Symbio, according to the article here. And just recently, she posted on Twitter a couple of feeds here. It says, "Cringe alert, if the regulators of your crypto exchange custodian requires this, run." And of course, she's referring to something called DAB, D-A-B, or also known as Digital Asset Biz. Now, this right here all has to do with a Bermuda Monetary Authority draft that took place back in December of 2018. So as the article states here, Long explains that she would never agree to store clients' assets in a firm that would have to meet low requirements. She's making reference to the fact that there are no specific requirements asking digital asset business to hold clients' funds one-to-one. Long says that in crypto there is no lender of last resort, so if the custodian or exchange does not hold the asset, it might not be able to meet the withdrawal request by the client. So again, combining this information with the topic of the proof of keys, which who knows how long that's going to go on for, and of course how effective it's actually going to be because of the amount of people that might not be participating in that movement. Now, I wanted to actually merge this information here when it comes to the talk of whether or not exchanges might have that backing of a one-to-one with those cryptocurrencies on there, just in the case customers and clients wanted to remove their cryptocurrencies. I wanted to correlate that with the idea of how banking systems work when it comes to your fiat currency. And I wanted to show you all a couple of things here when it comes to, again, this correlation between that. So looking a little bit into this topic here, I stumbled across this article from smartasset.com entitled, "What is the average checking account balance?" Now, this is actually a really quick read I would suggest anybody to do. And of course, this is something dated back from November 20th, 2018. So there's a lot of relevance still because it's very recently written here. I wanted to touch base on a couple highlighted points here. The article states that the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances offers a trove of information about checking account usage in the U.S. It found that more than 92% of the population has a checking account. When the 8% without a checking account were asked why they didn't have one, the most popular answer was not wanting to deal with banks. And of course, that is definitely a popular topic there when it comes to people getting into the cryptocurrency ecosystem, simply not wanting to deal with banks anymore and wanting to go a decentralized route. But again, this article here kind of highlights on some of that information. I would highly suggest reading it. One of the other things I wanted to quickly point out when it comes to checking accounts, and of course that information we just read in Wikipedia, this article states here, unsurprisingly, Americans who make more money keep more in their checking accounts. It's likely that higher salaries encourage higher costs of living, higher rent, food, clothing, and entertainment bills. The difference grows more distinct with every income bracket. In fact, the median checking account balance nearly doubled with every new bracket until we reach the highest bracket, an annual income of $160,000 or more. Those who make less than $25,000 a year tend to keep around $500 in checking, while those ranking in more than $160,000 have a median balance of around $25,000 and an average balance of $721,000. So obviously you can see that the more money you make, the more money you're able to store in your checking account, rightfully so. The idea behind this is that it's showing that a majority of the U.S. populace is dealing with checking accounts. Now, of course, you can go a little bit further here in the article and read the breakdowns. You can see that by the account balances here, the more money you make, obviously, the more money you're going to store away in your checking account. The whole entire purpose of this right here is to give you emphasis that more people are keeping their money in checking accounts because it is more accessible to have it in a checking account than it would be in having it in a savings account or something that is locking your money away from you. And as you've seen, that banks don't even have to have a liquid amount of money for savings account amounts or even time locked away amounts. And of course, when a bank only has to have a certain amount of money stored away in their bank for liquid on base all those checking accounts, you can see not everybody's going to be able to go into their bank and actually access fiat currency all at the same time, kind of like this whole premise behind the proof of keys. So it could be this situation where a lot of these exchanges and entities aren't necessarily worrying themselves whether or not a lot of people are going to follow through with this. And really the biggest thing that I'm hopeful that everyone takes away from this right here is that right alongside of those cryptocurrency exchanges, your banks aren't actually required to have a full amount of liquid reserve, like a 1-to-1 ratio on hand. So again, if you were to go into your bank just like you would to any of these exchanges, and everybody were to do that at the exact same time and ask to have their cryptocurrencies removed or their fiat removed from their accounts, these exchanges and these banks would not be able to do that. They won't have enough liquid reserve on hand to do that. So again, it's a very concerning situation there. If you are someone who is concerned about your cryptocurrencies, whether or not you'll be able to access them or whether or not an exchange might go down simply because they have been called out on these types of situations, then I would absolutely suggest getting yourself again into some sort of offline wallet like a Ledger Nano S or a cold storage wallet, but something that is offline there. So as you can see on ledger.com, they are still offering their Ledger Nano S wallet right now for 30% off. And if you are looking to secure your cryptocurrencies, especially during this proof of keys movement that's taking place, I would definitely suggest going to the link in my description and getting yourself into one of these wallets right now. Take advantage of that 30% off while it lasts. And something interesting about their site, they have this countdown here that has been rumored to be a couple of different things that could happen. One of them I found very interesting. It could possibly be an app for your phone that could be linked to your wallet. It could also be a new type of Ledger wallet that's being created with maybe a more user-friendly or opened up interface. I'm not exactly sure what this is going to lead to, but reading into some of the rumors are pretty interesting. But definitely let me know what you think in the description there. And if you haven't already gotten yourself into the Uphold wallet, definitely check out the link in the description below for that. They're doing a US $500,000 giveaway just simply for getting yourself into the wallet. And of course, if you are someone who decides to use the wallet and put money into there so you can get yourself into cryptocurrencies, for your first $100, you'll actually get a referral bonus right alongside of myself for using that link in the description. So again, take advantage of that. Something else I found very neat about the Uphold wallet is that you can actually transfer for free to other Uphold wallets without having any type of fee applied to that transaction. So keep that in mind if you are wanting to do that. Maybe use this as a means to transfer money back and forth to friends and family. This is the perfect opportunity for them to save money because again, they won't have transaction fees they have to worry about. You could just transfer that directly over to their Uphold wallet from your Uphold wallet. So take a look at the link in the description, get yourself on board with that, get yourself entered into that $500,000 giveaway, and of course, start getting yourself acclimated into cryptocurrencies there. Outside of that, guys, thank you again for watching. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to do that. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button. And also follow me on Twitter under the Crypto Ginger. I'm at crypto_ginger.